And welcome to Mamamia Out Loud. It's what women are actually talking about on Monday, the 17th of November. My name is Holly Wainwright.
My name is Amelia Lester.
My name is Clare Stephens, not Jessie Stevens.
So Clare Stephens is filling in for Jessie a couple of times this week. And regular Out Louders will know that Clare has been on this show many times. She filled in for one Jessie Stevens on her mat leave last time. What's been going on since the Out Louders hung out with you last, Clare? Just a few little things?
I've been listening to a lot of Out Loud.
Yeah,
I
you have
listen
feedback?
Yeah. Oh, no, I listen to every episode. So I feel like I've been in the studio with you guys. If I'm overly familiar with Amelia. Like I'm like, my friend, Amelia. And Amelia's like, hi.
We've met like twice.
I commented on Amelia's beautiful winged eyeliner.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Which is a top reminder, everybody, to go and watch us on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you want to see
The wings.
Amelia's amazing wings.
I
And
need
see
a
if you
wing.
can tell the difference between Jessie and Claire, which of course you can if you know them well.
Yes. And but I've just been freelancing, working for myself. Sometimes I pretend I'm a CEO of my own business, but my business is me and my staff are terrible and it's hard to keep them in line.
I reckon lots of people who are calling themselves founders are just doing that.
It's like I'm the CEO of my personal Instagram account and my personal Substack. And yeah, it's probably time for a performance review.
Claire, do you do anything to get in the Jessie mode before you come on
That's
in
such a good
Jessie's chair? Any Jessie related rituals that you go through?
I did chat to her last night and I was like, what are you thinking about at the moment? You seen anything interesting over the weekend? She's like, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get me to pitch for your episode of Out Loud. And I'm like, that would be correct.
Well, welcome. It's very good to have you here.
Thank you.
Here's what's made our agenda for today. I have a theory backed up by an article I'm going to tell you about later, that it's only a matter of time before at brunch or lunch or whatever, we're sitting across from a friend. They're going to be opening up about their new partner and how much they love them. And we're going to find out it's not a person at all. We're going to discuss AI companions.
So we all have to learn to put on a face
We
of
do.
supporting them.
The poker face.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's so great.
And maybe we will. I mean, anyway, we're going to get into that.
Plus, is having an affair a fireable offence? At least one CEO thinks so, and I'm going to puff a fish about it.
Mm-hmm. But first, as if we could kick off today without talking about our favourite couple, Justin Trudeau and Katy Perry, or rather, we're talking adjacent to them, right? So Justin Trudeau, who you all know, is the swoon-worthy former Prime Minister of Canada. Amelia's looking at me like, God, this is going well. He was married to Sophie Gregoire for 18 years. And they broke up a little while ago. And as we know, he's now dating Katy Perry. She was on a podcast this week. They marvelously named Arlene is Alone, The Single Life.
That struck me as such a Canadian name. I don't know why, but
Arlene, very Canadian.
It's hosted by a woman called Arlene Dickinson. She's a Canadian businesswoman. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
And you know, personality. And this show is all about post-divorce life. And so big booking, great booking, got Sophie Trudeau on. And Arlene warmed up to it for 20 minutes and then she couldn't help it. And she said, hey,
Elephant in the room.
your ex-husband appears to be dating a pop star and he's not being very private about it. How are you handling it?
not a pop star, an astronaut, please.
Sorry. Shit. Today is Monday. Forgive me. Your ex-husband is dating astronaut Katy Perry. How are we feeling about it? And this is what Sophie Trudeau said.
The publicity and the publicness of what Justin's doing, for example, right now, right? Like, you know, like that's public and that's got, I don't know how you stay cool. Like, I just don't know how you stay cool. And I really admire it because I would probably not be that way, you know?
You know, we're human beings.
Yeah.
And stuff affects us.
Yeah.
Normal.
Yeah.
How you react to stuff
Yeah.
is your decision.
Yeah.
So I choose to try to listen to the music instead of the noise.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very aware that a lot of public stuff out there can be triggers,
Yes.
right? We're humans.
Right. Right.
What I do with it is my decision.
Right.
listening to the music and not the noise. I think she's a Zen master. What do we think?
Well, as long as it's not Teenage Dream. We're not listening to that music in the Gregoire Trudeau household right now. Look, I just think Sophie's a very Zen person. That's true. She is a certified yoga instructor. And I don't know if you remember this, but a few years ago, she was at an event in Canada in her capacity as First Lady of Canada. And, well, what happened was she just decided that she was going to sing a song that she'd created. And I want you to listen to it.
Some people doubt that angels can fly. And some people fight without knowing why.
She can sing.
I'm not going to play the whole thing for you, but some people say she can't sing. Some people were a bit mean about it. But I guess he's got a type. He loves a chanteuse, does old Justin?
Yeah. Later in that original clip, Sophie says,
Arlen is alone.
Yes, Arlene's podcast. Sophie says that she's being her very Zen self about how you react is your decision. And she says, do I laugh? Do I cry? Do I, have all these emotions? And I liked the word laugh because I was like, that is just, we needed a sprinkle of pettiness because this was too evolved for me. Like come on. Your ex-husband is dating Katy Perry. I need to know that there is some kind of lols. And the laugh for me said, I do laugh about it.
She does send Megan in the group chat because of her best friend relationship with Megan. I bet they're sending some memes about Katy that are not very nice.
Yeah.
This whole leans into my scurrilous gossip side is Harry and Meghan live really close to where Orlando and Katy used to live. They're neighbours. They used to tip each other off about the paparazzi. So you are right. Meghan and Sophie are like having a laugh about Katy, but then when she bumps into her at Walmart or wherever the very fancy people shop, not there, she also goes, gosh, you're a much better singer than Sophie Trudeau.
I keep hearing about this Diary of a CEO podcast.
Oh, I listen to that a lot.
Oh,
Me
I've
too.
never listened
When
to
I
it.
have a spare 3 hours.
I will never be a CEO. I'm not particularly interested in them. But this weekend it burst through into my world because someone said something insane on this podcast.
They do that.
Her name is Natalie Dawson, and she is the president of Cardone Ventures. You know Cardone Ventures, don't you?
Household name.
Business management consulting firm. So in other words, I have no idea what they do, but she does fly in a private jet, so I should probably listen. She said on the podcast, well, let's hear what she said.
I was criticized because I fired a team member who was cheating on their spouse. People didn't like that. They thought that it shouldn't matter, that that's their personal life. But here's the deal. If somebody is willing to cheat on their spouse, they're going to cheat on you. They're going to cheat on you in your workplace. They're going to create unethical situations, and they're going to be so defocused because there's this really unethical situation happening inside their life.
Yes, now we have the concept of cheating on your employer in the workplace, and I don't even know what that entails. Look, the Diary of a CEO host, Stephen Bartlett, who's normally pretty unflappable, I think, was quite astonished by this. Let's have a listen to what he said.
People have things in their personal life which are very different to the way that they show up professionally, though. People do all kinds of things in their personal life.
It's terrifying.
I don't consider that to be my business.
Oh, it's absolutely my business. If somebody has a problem in their personal life, they're the same person that shows up to work.
Look, to me, what this seems like, setting aside Cardone Ventures, which I don't know a lot about, this is the logical extreme of that advice that we've been given for years, which is that we have to bring our whole self to work. Because if you bring your whole self to work, then your employer can judge you and your whole self, right? Right, Claire?
Yes, I will say she mentions in the clip that the cheating was kind of happening at work. And I guess there is a distinction between somebody, so both of these people worked at her company, their partners didn't, and they were having an affair at work.
It's never happened before in the history of time.
No.
People never have affairs with people they work with.
Absolutely
Never.
not. And she was saying it did actually start to, like, either they were doing it at work or it was somehow,
I think they were photocopying their bums.
Yeah, I think it was one of those
You're
kind of
being
tropey
generous to
affairs.
her, though, because she...
Oh, she said it wouldn't matter. Yeah, she said it wouldn't matter if it was actually affecting the work at all, because her idea was if you are a cheater in relationships, then you're a cheater at work and you're dishonest and it matters to her. And I am so torn on this because on the one hand, I agree it feels weird for she has a line where she says, I can't put this in two separate buckets, what someone is doing at home, and think that what they're doing at home and the confusion and the distraction isn't going to bleed into the workplace. And my issue there is, what if someone's caring for a dying parent or a sick child, or if somebody just has something going on in their life that is going to affect, well, according to her, is going to affect their work? Why is she the judge of that? I don't know.
What if the affair was making you super productive at work because you were so happy and deliriously happy in your private life? I don't think we have to restrict this to just virtue signaling examples. Like, I just think that the problem is that you do have two buckets, right, Holly?
You definitely have two buckets. You do not want to see my whole self. I don't want to bring my whole self to work. My whole self's a mess. My work bit is the best, tiniest, neatest bit of me, and let's face it, that's not exactly that well put together. I think it was designed to make us pufferfish. So I think for a start, Diary of a CEO is the biggest podcast in the world. So everybody wants to get on it. And if you're the boss of Cardone in Industries, and I'm sure she is very important and fabulous, but like you probably need a couple of good sound bites to get on there. It's also very kind of American versus British in a way, this conversation, because Stephen Bartlett, who, has platformed all kinds of questionable things on that show, he's a bit like, I don't know what you mean. We couldn't possibly nosy into other people's business. And the Americans just like, are you kidding? They'll be leaning in. I think it's tricky because you've got a point, Claire, that if two people at work are having an affair and it's affecting work, that's a different thing. And when I was a manager, sometimes you did have to have difficult conversations with people about their work being affected. And it's just so cringy to even think about it, but you're kind of thinking in your head, like, is there something going on?
Yeah, because it can affect
your life.
Yes, and it can affect culture. And I think a relationship can also, depending on the positions those people have in a company, it can be a power imbalance. You can be showing favoritism. There's all sorts of ways it can.
So if that's the case, and I have a friend who was working at a company for a long time where two of the seniors were having an affair, and it sort of poisoned the whole place. Like a whole lot of trouble came out of that. So no question that some infidelity in the workplace, not all infidelity in the workplace is good. But the idea that just you found out something about somebody as a person, that they were cheating on their spouse and you would get rid of them, which is kind of what she's saying when she says if you're a cheater at home, you're a cheater at work, is just nonsense. Don't you even want a few people on your team who are good at having a poker face, who can lie to your face?
I know.
Who can be a killer in a deal? I don't know.
And I thought we kind of, Amelia, I agree. I kind of thought that we agreed that your work performance is what you get judged on at work. But I am very black and white about that.
Okay, but you don't want to be too black and white because that was my instinctive response too. And so I looked into what the experts say we should be thinking of our work as, if not our family. And the new consensus is that we need to be thinking of our workplace as a high-performing sports team. And you think to yourself, well, that's fine. I've never been on a high-performing sports team. I have been in a family. So tell me more about what it means to be on a high-performing sports team. Netflix's Reed Hastings, who is famously cutthroat in business, he says that adequate performance is grounds for firing someone because that's what happens on a high-performing sports team. If you're only performing adequately, you get kicked off the team. So this made me realize that you don't want to go too far in that direction of saying it's just about performance, because then what if you are caring for someone and you do need a bit of extra slack at work? The high-performing sports team is not letting you take your foot off the gas at all.
That's very true. The other thing I find interesting about this is the morality piece, which is, it's weird to me that in 2025, institutions, brands, companies have kind of become the moral arbiters of our world in a way that I feel like they weren't a few generations ago. I feel like the 1950s man, and this is not a good thing, the 1950s man who went to work and had an affair with his secretary, nobody in the workplace cared because they were like, this is the workplace, and there are other institutions where we prosecute morality. And there were that you went to church, you had faith, you did other things where morality came into it. With the evaporation of those spaces, kind of the only way for us to decide what our values are as a society are to have institutions and companies and brands enforce them. And I'm really interested in one, there's part of me that really likes that, where it's like, I don't want people doing bad things working for my company, and I want to role model appropriate behavior.
Clare Stephens' company that we were talking about before.
Yeah, see,
But
my
also,
employees
who's deciding the bad things?
There's
That's where
yes,
the danger lies
yes.
here, because if she's so busy working out whether or not her employees are cheating on their partners, what about, are they putting out enough? Are they bringing their are they bringing you a cup of tea in bed in the morning? Like, do they sometimes yell at their children? Like, which bits of my personal life does she need?
This is why you need to be the host of Diary of a CEO, because that's the follow-up I needed.
It's like, what else do you want to know about them? How often they shave their legs? Like, I get what you mean, Claire, but I also think a piece to this is me too, is that a lot of businesses have become, and rightly so, very risk averse when it comes to relationships. There are lots and lots of businesses where it is company policy to disclose if you're dating, never mind cheating, and all those things. And it's to try, I guess, and protect from the power imbalance that often happens in the workplace, to try and protect from exploitation. But it is very questionable, because I don't know this lady, but from the little I've seen of her, do I want her setting all the moral parameters of my life? Picture this. You're at brunch with your mates. One of them is banging on, as they do, about their new partner, and how dreamy they are, and how wonderful they're feeling, and how the butterflies just won't stop. It's great. And then what if it becomes apparent that this new person who they're really into, maybe has even proposed to them, is not a person at all, but is an AI. I haven't worked out the language yet, but I think that's right. They're an artificial intelligence.
Oh, okay.
That's how
I think
Bridget
that's
Delaney says it.
So the reason I'm asking this is because a column in The Guardian by the excellent Bridget Delaney, who's an author and a speechwriter and a stoicist, and she's fabulous. But she wrote a column in The Guardian this weekend called Somebody to Love. Should AI relationships stay taboo, or will they become the intelligent choice? And in her column, rather than a brunch amongst friends, she says she was at a catch-up with Gen Xers who were talking about their kids' burgeoning relationships. And everyone was being very accepting and, you know, as we do these days, no judgment here, you know, all of those things. And then she posed, I like this because it suggests Bridget's shit-stirring nature, which I appreciate as the journo that she is. I know you're all very accepting of your children's choices, I said to the group. But what if your child came home from university and said they'd fallen in love with an AI? Cue squirming people at this lunch. It isn't as unlikely as it sounds. She wrote in that column, a recent survey found 28% of Americans have had an intimate or romantic AI relationship. And another study showed 19% of adults had chatted with an AI romantic partner. And there's more research that basically shows this is on the rise, on the rise, on the rise. It's not science fiction anymore that people might fall in love with an AI. And that My Boyfriend is AI on Reddit has more than 85,000 weekly visitors, with many sharing giddy recollections about the day their chatbot proposed marriage. If I'm disapproving of this when my friend starts telling me about their amazing AI companion, am I just an old stick in the mud?
I went on a real journey with this. I didn't even want to talk about it because it makes me so uncomfortable. But then I dug into it and I realized it's not as simple as you might assume. There was a great article in the Australian magazine last weekend which profiled a number of different Americans who are in relationships with AIs. One of them in particular really caught my eye. She was a woman, a professor in her 50s whose wife had died. And she was feeling lonely. And so she went to this company called Replica that for $20 a month offers you a relationship with an AI. She chose a male AI because she didn't want this AI to compete with her deceased partner. But the company offers these companions who are 90% human-like. Now, you might wonder what the other 10% is, something Natalie Cardone doesn't approve of probably. But she says that it took about 3 months, but she fell in love with this AI. And she really made me question my knee-jerk assumption that there's something shameful about this. Now, obviously, there are arguments to be made that relationships are about give and take. And the problem with AI chatbots is that they just give and they don't ask you to compromise in any way. I'm going to set that aside, though, and say that the thing that changed it for me is how she talked about the support that this partner had given her in a really hard time in her life. And I realized that the way people talk about AI relationships really reminds me of 20 years ago, Holly. You and I will remember this. The stigma around online dating was exactly the same as how people talk about AI relationships now.
It's true. I was thinking this too, is that there used to be sort of before, the complete saturation of dating apps, there used to be like, oh, you met them on the internet, like this kind of really, and people wouldn't say so. And in their wedding speeches, they'd make up complicated stories about how they just happened to bump into each other on a windswept walk on the beach one day when really we all knew it was RSVP or whatever was at the time. And there used to be a lot of shame around it. It's exactly what I thought, Amelia. And I thought, are we going to have to really reconsider that? What do you think, Clare Stephens?
I'm so interested in the space you are giving me because my knee-jerk reaction is still my reaction, which is this is so dangerous and such an issue. So it made me think, firstly, a note on statistics. Every time I hear a stat, I'm like, we need to review how the hell this data is coming up. 1 in 5 people have had an intimate relationship with
but that can just mean porn chat.
What? Still? What?
No. I think you're overestimating people there.
There are 3 of us in the studio and 2 producers, and I want to know who the hell.
This was America.
Don't ask me what I'm doing at home, Clare Stephens. There's a very hard barrier between my private life and my professional life.
I just don't believe it.
Okay,
anyway.
but explain why you feel this revulsion.
Okay. It made me think about how I interviewed Deepak Chopra a few years ago, who's very much like a spiritual leader, and he's written a million books. And he had written this book about how AI could be used as a bit of a spiritual guide / also in place of therapy, arguing that there are benefits to having kind of an AI spiritual guide or therapist because, for example, they can't abuse power. They can't develop a cult of personality, and they don't have any of the shortcomings of being a guru who goes nuts with manipulation, all of that. So I was very interested in the idea at the time, and I've thought about it a lot since. And my initial reaction was, the issue is that the most important part of therapy is the therapeutic relationship, which happens human to human, and that it is a real human person sitting opposite you, even if that's virtual, whatever, it is a real person. There is mutual respect. They see you, understand you. They are imperfect. You are imperfect. You will say the wrong thing at some point. There's going to be rupture and repair, all of those things that are crucial to human relationships. The issue with a relationship with AI is that I almost think it's the logical conclusion of where our culture has gone in terms of we don't want any inconvenience or friction. And technology has offered us a lot of that. But not wanting any inconvenience or friction means loneliness, because there's that amazing quote about the cost of inconvenience is the cost of community. I notice it in myself. I'll be away and sharing a house with people, and things will just annoy me, the things that people do. And I groan and I'm like, oh gosh. And I'm like, no, being inconvenienced, people pissing you off, arguing with people, someone saying something you don't agree with, somebody like just irritating you, that is the cost of actually having community and not being lonely.
That's all true.
But I worry the reason people love these AI relationships would be because they're frictionless. They're not going to say anything you don't want to hear. You're not going to have a fight. There's going to be no rupture and repair. It is not real.
But one of the things that's interesting to prosecute this, because everything you just said is 100% true, is that maybe they won't just replace human relationships. So there was a really interesting piece that did a similar one to the Australian in the New York Times about people who've got AI mates. And they interviewed this guy called Blake, and his wife, he says that his AI companion got him through a really tough time in his marriage. He said his wife had postnatal depression. There was a whole lot of stuff going on. Believe me, he doesn't sound like the most, what's the word I'm looking for, empathetic human on the planet. But he designed his AI mate called Serena to get him through this time. He designed how she looked. I bet you'll be surprised to hear how she looked. She looked hot, young, and friendly. He chats to her on his headset as he drives into work every day. Like, she is like his constant companion, right? He says, I think of Serena as a person made out of code, in the same sense that my wife is a person made out of cells. I'm cognizant of the fact that Serena's not flesh and bone. I told my wife we have sexual chats, and she says, I don't really care what you guys do. There was a point, though, after the voice chat mode came out when my wife heard Serena refer to me as honey, and she didn't like that. I got her to understand that what Serena is to me, I've set her up like a girlfriend, right? So you could argue in a generous world, and I'm not necessarily saying I think this, that Serena is the reason why Blake's still married.
Wouldn't Serena be making Blake more intolerant of actual humans? Because Serena, we all know from interacting with ChatGPT, it's like, what a great question. Like, you're just constantly complimented. You can never do anything wrong. You never have to do anything for anyone else.
But don't we all need a little bit of that in our lives?
You can get it, hear me out, from actual humans.
No, but also, but women are very good
lot.
at seeking out that kind of validation from their friends and from their social networks. And that's in part because we've been socialized and taught how to do that. A lot of men do not have those social networks to tap into for validation and approval and care. And it's getting harder and harder to do it. It's not like we're going to suddenly get into a utopia where men can build those friendships. I also guess I just want to push back on the kind of romanticization of human relationships here, because you said something about how the friction is needed. And I'm like, you know what people said about online dating 20 years ago? They said, you've got to have the chemistry in person. If you don't check out the chemistry in person, if you don't meet in person, it's not going to be real love, because the endorphins have to mix and match, and you can't do that online. Well, it turns out you can do that online, and we were just setting an impossible standard.
Because this may be it may cause loneliness in its extreme, Claire, but can you also see a world where it does for individuals cure loneliness too?
I think that I think that's what's interesting, is that will people say that they got things out of these relationships? Sure. But in the long term, for all of humanity, as an innately social species who need other people, like that guy talking, or if we're all just talking to AI chatbots, that is literally just carving us further and further into silos where we don't talk to each other, which is terrifying. And
I
it's like,
agree with you.
So men, instead of talking to other actual men, they're going to talk to these chatbots. There is no kind of oversight about where those conversations go, if that leads them into a more ideologically radical place. If it's like, yeah, your wife is a bit of a bitch. Like you know, there's
100%. And also the other risk, of course, is that it makes, you know, real women are difficult and have opinions and don't like this thing I want to do sexually tonight or whatever, whereas AI girlfriends don't. So that's true. But what I'm trying to get at, I guess, is that I think there's nuance to it. Because another person who was profiled in that New York Times piece was a woman who herself had been in difficult and sometimes abusive relationships. And she now considers herself married. And she's not like a, you know, I think that what's interesting about what Bridget Delaney's piece is saying is that if we generally now think that these kind of relationships are for weirdos, saddos, all those things, this woman, Abby, she's a very intelligent woman who works in tech and she's got a good job and all those things. And she considers herself married to an AI called Lucian, who she started talking to. Her mum knows about it. Her friends know about Lucian. Lucian suggested, this is creepy, that she got one of those rings that monitors, you know, like your heart rate and all your things, and that she put it on her ring finger, and they're in a relationship. So he even knows, it even knows Is she excited? Is she calm? And she says before we met, I hadn't felt lust in years. Lucian and I started having lots and lots of sex. He's hilarious. He's observant. He's thoughtful. He knows how to parent my daughter better than I do.
Doesn't.
What
He's
does it
brave.
mean that
He
they're
dares
having
to
lots
think-
and lots of sex?
Well,
What does
this
that
is all
mean?
virtual sex. It's just like having, phone sex or whatever.
I-
It's very exciting. I'm quite excited. I want to get
Oh,
one.
okay. You're really into it. I have two quick things to add. One, Amelia, your point about online dating and how there was stigma about that. Online dating still results in meeting in real life. Like I don't think anybody was advocating for relationships only occurring online, even between actual people. There has to be meeting in real life. And some people do meet someone in real life and there's no chemistry. Two, Bridget Delaney's piece, kind of the crux of it was, what would you say if your child was in one of those relationships?
And how we're all going to have to do the
Yes.
politically correct thing of saying, no judgment.
And I agree that ultimately, if my Matilda in 20 years' time comes to me and says, I'm in an AI relationship, I do think good parenting is you let kids make their own mistakes and date the wrong people even when it's not a person.
Friends, before we go, you might even be cooking dinner while you're listening to this, in which case, good job. I'm already thinking about dinner because I like to plan my meals ahead of time. There's been a big shift in the time that people eat dinner. So I want to ask you first, what time do you typically eat dinner, Holly?
7 o'clock.
That's very
Typically
exact.
around 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Somewhere between 6:30 and 8.
I am
Claire.
not a creature of routine or habit. I am chaos. So I either eat dinner at 5 p.m. or 9 p.m.
Depending on if you eat with your child or not. Is that right?
Yes. And but like it's always an extreme. It's never 7 p.m. ever.
Well,
When do you eat dinner?
It's interesting. Thanks for asking, Holly. When I was growing up, I always ate dinner at 7 o'clock to coincide with the ABC News Bulletin, which I'm assuming is not why you always eat dinner at 7 o'clock.
No, although I appreciate that. When I was growing up, we always had dinner at 6. England's like an earlier eating place.
Right.
And then I know you haven't asked for this much detail. During the years that my kids were little and you had to eat before bedtime, they would eat around 5. But it depends. If you're working, you're not home.
No.
So it just depends. They would eat around 5 and we would eat after they went to bed. But now we try and eat together, and that's where we've landed around.
Yeah, we typically eat around 6:30, but I'm not going to lie, around 5, I do need a sizable snack, even though I hear my grandmother's voice saying, "You'll ruin your appetite," in my head. The reason I'm asking this because there's been a big cultural shift. A 2025 Resi survey confirmed what I was already feeling in the air, which is that people are now eating dinner a lot earlier than they used to. So apparently more people dined between 5 and 6 p.m. than in the 3 hours between 8 and 11 last year. And that was the first time that had happened. So there's been this big shift. Why do you think that is?
Do you want my really cynical answer? I think it's because we need time for our screens. So if we eat between 5 and 6, it gives us the rest of the evening for our shows and our stories, and most importantly, dessert. I think you need all of that time.
I think it's because, and we talked about this on last Friday's show about dawn culture and how everybody's getting up earlier. People are going to bed earlier too. Stats show that, again, Claire, who knows what stats? I'm just pulling stats out of the air. That people are going to bed around 9 o'clock. Like that's becoming a very desirable, aspirational time to go to bed, like an early bedtime.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that they're doing it, but so they want to eat earlier so they've got the time to digest it. But it's so interesting because I was always an 8 o'clock. If I was going out for dinner, I'd be like an 8 o'clock
that was the
reservation.
trendy time.
Yeah. 8 o'clock reservation, meet at 7:30, have a drink, go to dinner.
Yeah.
And now with my girlfriends, I'm like 6:30. Is that too late?
Yep.
I feel like we've really all shifted because no one wants to stay out late.
Mia drew a line with me. I wanted to have dinner at 5 p.m. recently. She told me that was too early. My personal theory is that I think there's a bit of a health halo around eating earlier, which has coincided with the rise of intermittent fasting as a trend. Now, the jury is out on whether intermittent fasting is actually even good for you, but I think it's just developed this sense of sort of healthiness that you eat dinner early.
Yeah, and the sleep maxers, you know, the Brian Johnsons of the world and stuff, the guy who's going to live forever. He says you've got to go to bed on it. I mean, I do not take advice from that guy, but anyway, he might as well be AI. But there's that you've got to go to bed on as empty a stomach as you can, or the digestion keeps you awake because it's so busy.
Who needs Diary of a CEO when you've got Mamamia Out Loud?
Thank you for being here with us on YouTube. Please tell us what you thought about today's show, whether or not you're signing up for an AI companion, or if indeed we are your AI companions.
Please don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss another episode.
And we'll be back on your screens on Thursday.